Victoria Mayoral Debate 2014.
Welcome to the City of Victoria Mayoral Debate on Cfax 1070. I'm Ryan Price. Election Day is November 15th, this Saturday. It's time to make a decision on who you want to become the mayor of Victoria for the next 4 years. And to help make that decision, we are joined by 7 of the 8 candidates running to be mayor in our election this year. And over the next 90 minutes, we'll meet those candidates, hear their thoughts on some of the big issues of this 2014 campaign, and also allow those candidates to pose questions to each other. We'll have 5 segments, 5 rounds over the course of the next 90 minutes, and I will be outlining the rules for each as we go. And I ask that all candidates please follow the format and keep to our timing, as we have 7 people here and a need to keep everything to time. Now, let's meet the City of Victoria mayoral candidates who have been seated at random before me, and we have 60 seconds each for introductions. I will be keeping time, and when your time is almost up, I'll be holding up an orange card as a warning to wrap up your thought with 10 seconds left. And I will start on my left-hand side with our first introduction, and that is mayoral candidate Ida Chong. You're well known as a former cabinet minister in the provincial government. You've been had held the electoral district of Oak Bay Gordon Head from 1996 until last year. Now you want to be mayor of Victoria. Hello.
Hi.
And why should somebody vote for you?
Well, I believe elections should be thorough job interviews, so I'm happy to share with the voters and listeners why I'm asking for your vote. I was born and raised in Victoria. I attended elementary school here. I am a designated professional accountant. I have my CGA degree. And I also started the first all-female accounting practice in Victoria, and I cater to small, medium-sized enterprises. As you mentioned, my past political experience, I've held cabinet positions, and the largest budget that I was able to manage was $1.9 billion. The City of Victoria has a $209 million operation, and it requires experience, leadership, and sound management skills. I bring all that to the mayor's office, and I care passionately about the success of Victoria, and that's why I am the best candidate for mayor.
Thank you, Ida Chong. Next to you is Stephen Andrew. Now, we know you as a broadcast journalist. We've seen you on TV, heard you on the radio, including as a host right here on Cfax 1070, and now you want to get into politics. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning.
Why should somebody vote for you?
You know, I guess you've heard my ads on this station reminding you that I always ask the tough questions and I don't stop until I get answers. And I think that's the kind of person you want to lead Victoria, with an open government and no more pet projects rammed through council against staff. I also think you want someone who isn't a member of a political party or who doesn't owe anything to unions or has really no corporate ties or obligations. I think you want a mayor who will take control of the Johnson Street Bridge project, get a handle on sewage treatment, that mess there, and bring new life to downtown. And, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've released a comprehensive plan called the Healthier, Safer City Plan. I've announced policy to deal with downtown vacancies and businesses, camping in our parks, addiction, parking, graffiti, and you can find them all at stephenandrew.ca. Simply put, Ryan, I think we need a new direction. We need new leadership.
Thank you. Stephen Andrew. Next to him, with 60 seconds to be introduced, Jason Ross. You have not been an elected councillor, but you have spent a lot of time in a council chamber through your work as an information technologist. You say you have provided video recording and web broadcasting for Victoria City Hall and others, which means you've had a lot of time to watch what's been happening in our local government, and now you want to be mayor of it. Why should somebody vote for you?
Somebody should vote for me because I'm... Well, as I was saying, that this is a job application process, and one of the skills that I bring is the ability to tear apart issues, break them down to their individual components, and find solutions that make sense, and also explain that solution to the public. And I think that's something that is sorely needing at City Hall, and it's also something that's been sorely lacking in the election campaign. We don't have, we don't have a real rigorous hiring process for this. Basically, we're standing up and answering a number of random questions or carefully selected questions, but they're not giving us the time to really discuss the full details of the issue. And that's the same problem that we have at City Hall.
Candidate Jason Ross. Now moving to our next candidate, we know you not by your real name, which is Rob Duncan, but by another name, Changes the Clown. You said you're running to raise awareness and do something about child poverty, but I've heard you speak on broader issues as well. Changes the Clown, why should somebody vote for you?
1 in 5 children and an astounding 1 in 2 children of single mothers live in poverty in Victoria. The province of BC has had the highest rate of child poverty in the country for 9 of the last 10 years, and the provincial government continues to stubbornly ignore this social crisis in our midst. Changes the Clown is running for mayor of Victoria because he wants people to join him in calling for something to be done about this crisis of child poverty. Changes believes that as the capital city of the province with the highest rate of child poverty in the country year after year, the City of Victoria should demonstrate how this unacknowledged social crisis can be addressed at the municipal level, despite the fact that it formally falls under provincial jurisdiction and not municipal jurisdiction. The Changes for Mayor campaign isn't about getting votes, it's about raising awareness. If you're a voter on the left, you should be voting for the contender on the left and not for the clown. If you want to help the Changes for Mayor campaign, then talk to the politicians about expecting to see something done about this crisis.
All right, Changes the Clown. Our next candidate for mayor in the city of Victoria is Lisa Helps. You've already been a councillor in the city, and you were one of the first out of the gate to make your mayoral bid known back in January. Why should somebody vote for you?
Thank you and good morning. Victoria needs a mayor who stays focused on the issues and the facts and not on politics. Dean stood up the other night at Crystal Pool or at Fernwood and stated an untruth that I had made a motion to close Crystal Pool. Ida is spending goodness knows how much money on ads saying that I'm going to raise property taxes by 18% when I've committed to keeping property taxes in line with inflation. And Stephen is still stuck in reporter mode, digging for dirt as much as he is putting forward a positive vision for Victoria. So Victoria needs a mayor who's going to stay focused on the issues, who has a strong, clear, detailed plan for moving the city forward for the next 4 years, and someone who's willing to roll up her sleeves and work alongside Victorians to make this city exactly what we know it all can be. And I ask for your support on November the 15th, and I look forward to serving as your mayor.
Victoria mayoral candidate Lisa Helps. Sitting beside you, we introduce our next candidate, David Shabib. You are the man who is running not just for mayor in the city of Victoria, but for all of Greater Victoria's 13 municipalities. Good morning, and why should somebody vote for you?
I don't require anybody to vote for me. I can make my own decisions, and I don't need the government to tell me what to do. I would like to see this form of government abolished. It's inept, it's incompetent, and I don't care whether you think your God has a bigger penis than mine. I think that the truth is the only valid cause for us to get together and the only reason for us to guide our government with, to adapt the people to the truth. Good news, Fukushima radiation levels are so very low, they're hardly detectable, and I think we're going to live for a little while longer. How do you want to live? What kind of a future do you want to live in? I think that's your decision, and this government is incompetent and negligent and is in contempt of people and of reason.
David Shabib. Now, finally on our list of mayoral candidates, seated at random, is the man who is currently the mayor of the city of Victoria, Dean Fortin. You've had 2 terms as mayor as already. You've served as councillor before that. Thank you for being here, and why should somebody vote for you?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. Why should someone vote for me? Because I'm the only candidate with a proven record and the demonstrated ability to get the job done, to bring people together and move forward on issues that are important to you. We've been moving on affordable housing and supportive housing for the homeless. We've been moving forward on alternate transportation, on crosswalks and bike lanes and walkable villages. We've been bringing the property tax increases down every year for 6 years. And this year is the lowest in 14 years. And yet at the same time, investing in those key services that are important, community centers, senior centers, and libraries. With your support, I want to keep Victoria moving forward, making sure that we have that, a progressive city, a green city, a prosperous city, and a livable city. With your support, we can keep moving forward. Thank you.
Dean Fortin. Now, those are the 7 candidates who could be with us today running to be mayor in the city of Victoria. There is one other candidate who will appear on your ballot if you're voting in the city, and that is Riga Godrin. Again, she could not be here today, but those will be the 8 people you will have a choice of when it comes to voting this Saturday, November 15th, in the civic elections. Now that we have met the candidates, we need to take a commercial break, but when we come back, you will be hearing from our candidates answering this question. What is the biggest issue or issues facing our city, and what are your thoughts on dealing with it? And then we will let those candidates themselves ask the follow-up questions. That's next on Cfax 1070.
Victoria Mayoral Debate 2014.
You are listening to the City of Victoria Mayoral Debate on Cfax 1070. My name is Ryan Price, and with me are 7 of the 8 candidates who want to be mayor of Victoria for the next 4 years. We've met them all, and now it's time for our first debate round. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to answer this question. What is the biggest issue or issues facing the city, and what are your thoughts on dealing with it? After that question is answered, the candidate seated to your left, the candidate's left, will ask a follow-up question based on the response. 30 seconds are allotted to ask the question. 30 seconds are allotted to answer. You don't need to take up the entire 30, but I will be timing you to make sure nobody goes over. So starting on my left again, and again the candidates have been seated at random, we will begin with candidate Ida Chong. The question, what is the biggest issue or issues facing the city of Victoria, and what are your thoughts on dealing with it?
Well, clearly the most talked about issue during this election has been the Blue Bridge. The project, because it is at the heart of the problem, is the mismanagement and the lack of leadership. The mayor needs to take responsibility, to be accountable, and to actually be in charge. And as your mayor, I will be. The other big issue is affordability and respecting taxpayers. Property tax rates have increased 34% in the past 6 years. The city does not have a revenue problem. It has a spending problem, a serious spending problem. This issue affects all taxpayers, renters, seniors, business owners, homeowners, and it's no wonder that the downtown vacancy rate for commercial property has almost tripled. So my plan is to freeze the property tax mill rates for 4 years, to introduce a 5-year heritage tax exemption for specific vacant office space that will motivate entrepreneurs to move to Victoria, that will bring 900 new workers to our downtown core.
Ida Chong, that is your response to the question. And now a follow-up question from the candidate seated to your left, Stephen Andrew.
Ida, you're talking about money, and that's very important, taxpayers' money. When you were a provincial cabinet minister, you used your accounting skills to basically use and obtain every entitlement you possibly could get, including free lunches. How come the change of heart right now? Why are you now concerned about taxpayers' money, but when you were in government, in the provincial cabinet, you weren't?
You know, I've always been concerned about being fiscally prudent and have ensured that projects that have been undertaken were done on time and on budget. I'm very proud of the Royal Jubilee project, the 500-patient care center, delivered on time and on budget because I was watching it diligently, as opposed to the Johnson Street Bridge project, which has got a $30 million cost overrun.
Next candidate to answer the question is Stephen Andrew. What is the biggest issue or issues facing our city, and what are your thoughts on dealing with it?
Well, I think the biggest issue that's facing our city is a lack of leadership right now, and getting answers to some really key questions. Lisa made a kind of a dig at me earlier that I'm stuck in reporter mode digging up dirt, but isn't that somebody really that you want at City Hall, actually looking at the issues and asking the tough questions and making sure that they're getting the answers? I mean, questions on the Johnson Street Bridge, for instance, I mean, that comes up again and again. The question I would ask is, do we really want the same team of Lisa and Dean at the table to deal with the bridge? I mean, if the Johnson Street Bridge is double the price, imagine what's going to happen with sewage. And I think that we need to be open and transparent, and I think that we need to lead and even lead in this election campaign showing that we are open and transparent. That clearly hasn't happened, right?
Stephen Andrews' answer to the question. Now a follow-up question from the candidate seated to your left, Jason Ross.
I think the one question I want to have an answer from Stephen is, your approach as a reporter is to go after the issue and ask the tough questions, but a big challenge for council and what the mayor's job is to build consensus and provide some sort of cooperation. So how do you foresee to adhere to that?
Well, actually, I think what I would like to do, and I've said this in my plan, you can go to stephenandrew.ca, is that I want to run a more collaborative government, and that is make the councillors shine. Get to the point where they have portfolios that deal with specific issues in our city. If you do that, then you're in a position where they are going to be focused on what is really important, and they'll be able to deal with it. And then when they get a win, you stand up and let them shine rather than the mayor getting up in front of a microphone and a camera every time there's some good news.
Stephen Andrew, thank you. And Jason Ross is next with his answer to the question, which is, what is the biggest issue or issues facing the city? What are your thoughts on dealing with it? You have 60 seconds for an answer.
I think the biggest issue facing the city is the lack of awareness, both for council not asking the right questions or asking detailed questions. For instance, they've approved a completely new budgeting process, but they haven't seen what it's going to look like or whereabouts, any of the actual information that staff's been preparing for the last few months. And the other side is that the public's not aware, and I think both issues are around issues of communication. That city council is, if you go to a city council meeting, they're really boring to listen to. They're really tedious to sit and for hours upon a time. Mostly because there's a poor barrier to entry. You have to do so much work. You have to read so much documentation to just feel that you're involved in the conversation. And I'd like to change that.
Jason Ross's response to the question, and there is 30 seconds now for a follow-up question from the candidate seated to your left, and that is, changes the clown.
Changes the Clown is going to be a one-trick pony this morning, and stick with the campaign theme and ask Jason, how does an anti-poverty strategy fit into your election platform?
I think it's one of the most challenging issues that's facing our city, but it's not an issue that we're facing alone. Every city in this country has issues with poverty and ability to provide housing for people. And we should be discussing and sharing those ideas a lot more. We should be looking outside. I firmly, as a programmer, I firmly believe in not reinventing the wheel. We shouldn't be trying to make our own custom-made plan. We should be borrowing the best examples and the best ideas from across the region.
And 30 seconds is up. Thank you very much for that question and response. Now we move on to candidate Changes the Clown for his response in 60 seconds to our question. What is the biggest issue or issues facing the city? And what are your thoughts on dealing with it?
20% of children and more than half of children of single mothers in Victoria live below the Stats Canada poverty line. And it's clear the provincial government isn't willing to even acknowledge this crisis, let alone address it. But there are things that can be done at the municipal level. The two main planks of Change's election platform address this crisis of child poverty. These are an affordable childcare program, like the one that's currently being planned by the City of Vancouver, and a living wage policy, like the one that's been in place in the City of New Westminster since 2010. The City of Vancouver recently announced $30 million in funding for new affordable childcare spaces at the municipal level, providing a clear precedent for this sort of thing at the municipal level. The City of New Westminster has a living wage policy which covers city workers and people working on city premises. And a modest expansion of this approach might also include employers with contracts with the city or something along that line.
Thank you. Changes the Clown. A follow-up question from the candidate to your left, Lisa Helps.
Thank you. First, I want to thank Changes for raising these important issues on the campaign trail over and over again. Second question is, we know the two main planks of your platform, Changes, and I wonder, many council candidates haven't been with us to hear a lot of what you've said. So after the election, what is the first thing that the person who's elected as mayor can do to help council understand the issues you've been raising?
I am assuming that they've sort of caught some of what I've been saying. That's a hard question. I guess, well, I mean, why not organize a local conference, a civic conference on poverty and strategies to address it? It seems like a good starting point.
All right, to our next answer, and I've been repeating the question all along, and if you're comfortable with the question, I'll just go right to our next mayoral candidate in the City of Victoria. Lisa Helps with your response.
Sure, the biggest issue facing Victoria right now, affordability, as Ida has said, is one of them, but we're going to get to that later in the discussion. For me, in addition to that, it's accountability and public participation. And I don't think we do a good enough job asking for your input before we make decisions. And that ends up in us not spending your hard-earned tax dollars well. I mean, Changes just gave a brilliant answer. What do we do about addressing poverty? We go to the people experiencing poverty and say, how can your city council help address these issues with you? So if you go to my website, you'll see a very detailed plan for increasing meaningful public participation. The other thing that we need to do in order to continually be accountable to you is share with you the details of projects even when they're not going well. We need to be open. We need to share, hey, you know what? We're having trouble here. This is your money we're spending. It's really important for us to keep you updated. So ask for input and have more meaningful public engagement so that we can be more accountable to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And now a follow-up question will be asked to you by the candidate to your left, David Shabib.
Recently, we've had several meetings of the candidates, and half of the candidates were not allowed to speak at these meetings. And you talk about meaningful engagement of the public. How do you equate this with your exclusion of half the candidates in the debates which were presented to the public of Victoria?
That's a fantastic question. First of all, I didn't make the rules about who was invited and who was not invited, but I think Jason's made some very good points along the campaign trail that we need to do democracy differently. At election time, we need to make sure that there's an opportunity not just for 8 people to sit in front of you, but to have more interactive sessions. And again, it's really important to me that everybody is there. These formats don't allow for 8 people very well because it takes so much time. So I think we need to move more towards some of the things that some of the community centers have been doing, where we're all invited to set up our tables and interact one-on-one. And why not have some circles? Why not have a different way of participating?
Sorry, that's time. I
okay, thanks.
Might not have been clear enough with the card. Apologies.
No problem.
Moving on to our next response, which is from David Shabib. What is the biggest priority facing the city? How would you deal with it?
Communication. I also like what Jason said, and I would like to say that no matter what happens in this election, I will get together with the people who have presented good ideas and given the proper direction for the people. And so whatever happens in this election, I'd like people to know that they can connect with me at any time, and I don't need a position in power within that elected format. I believe that the elections, as they've been conducted, are a dismal example of democracy, and I don't think that anybody should have any real belief in the outcome in this election. I think it's basically a fraud. I have been putting up no signs on the roads saying no to this form of government which is elected through this process. It's completely negligent of the public and of any kind of intelligence.
David Shabib's response. A follow-up question now from the candidate to your right, which is Dean Fortin.
Yes, David. I've noticed that you are running in every area region, and I'm just wondering what's your opinion on amalgamation and why are you for or against it?
I would like to respond to that by saying that Cfax has sent me 13 requests for information relating to the areas of Victoria, the 13 municipalities, and every one of those requests is exactly the same. They're asking me the same question from each municipality. So I see the same issues as concerning all the people, and the division of municipalities is a divide and conquer strategy that keeps us separated and should be eliminated.
The response from David Shabib, a perfect time for me to do some shameless promotion. You're referring to the Cfax 1070 candidate guide. If you go to our website, cfax1070.com, we have asked questions to all of the candidates running in all of Greater Victoria's 13 municipalities and posted their responses to our website if you want to help make your decision on who to vote for in any of the 13 municipalities across Greater Victoria. Our last candidate to answer our question is the Mayor of Victoria currently, Dean Fortin. What are your thoughts on the biggest issue facing the city, or issues, and how to deal with it?
Thank you, Ryan. And I wouldn't say that was a shameful one. It was a very nice segue. Well done.
A nice promotion.
The number one issue for me, the number one issue for the citizens of Victoria, as highlighted in the Victoria Foundation Is housing affordability. We know that for families, for seniors, for those who are without homes at this time. And it's about building homes, about getting more stock. We've done that in the last 6 years. We've built over 650 affordable and supportive units, and we approved more than 170 just last week at City Council. We've made progress, but we have much more room to go. The vacancy rate is too low, and we need more stock to bring it up, and I'm committed to moving forward on that issue. Beyond that, we need to look at renewing our secondary suite policy, to providing that incentive program again. Because, you know, that's an opportunity for new homeowners to get into homes. It's an opportunity for seniors to stay in their homes. It's an opportunity for a local tradesperson to go back to work. We will expedite rentals. We will expedite nonprofit housing. I'm looking forward to continuing on that role.
Mayor Dean Fortin, thank you for your response. And we will jump to the other side of the table for the follow-up question. Ida Chong, your 30-second follow-up question to Mayor Fortin, and then that'll be followed by a 30-second response.
Thank you very much. Well, Dean, you talk about affordability, and obviously it's very important for people in Victoria, even with the rising property tax rate increases. But I'm curious as to how you can square that when a $30 million cost overrun on the bridge could have provided for 3,000 units of affordable housing, 200 units that actually could have been built. That's a question that I think taxpayers are asking.
And your response?
Well, my response is this, and I'm kind of disappointed that every other candidate is working to bring up and make cost overruns on this bridge. Really, they're willing to spend the people's money. I'm surprised that they're not supporting my position, which is a contract is a contract. Everyone else here is trying to wrestle costs to the ceiling as opposed to make sure they come down. I'm saying that a contract is a contract, we're sticking to it, and that's the responsibility of what a mayor should be trying to do, not moving it up.
Thank you all for your responses to our first question and our first debate round, which has been, what is the big issue facing the city and how would you deal with it? Again, thank you for your responses. We'll be taking a commercial break in just a moment, but the Cfax Mayoral Debate for the City of Victoria 2014 continues in just a few moments, where we will move to what we are calling the lightning round. Quick responses to several of the big issues in this campaign so far. That is coming up next on Cfax 1070.
Victoria Mayoral Debate 2014.
Welcome back to our City of Victoria Mayoral Debate on Cfax. I'm Ryan Price. We have time now for what we're calling the lightning round, where we'll be asking questions based on issues in this campaign to each of our candidates and giving them each 30 seconds to give us a response. And I will point out as well that if you are just joining us, if you've missed any of this debate, we will be posting the whole thing online on our website, cfax1070.com, following the debate. So if you're wanting to go back, you can find it there. For our first question, and we'll start with Stephen Andrew and then proceed around the table from there. One of the major challenges facing the city is affordability, but affordability problems can take a number of different shapes for a number of different people. How do you think City Hall should deal with affordability? You have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, I think one of the biggest issues, Ryan, that we are seeing in this city is the fact that our tax rate is continuing to climb. We have seen a dramatic increase in taxes over a number of years, plan to go up another 18%. You're going to hear in a minute that we have the lowest tax increase in 14 years. It's convenient that it's an election year, but I have to say, I think that we need to get our taxes down. I don't know how you can have an affordable city, yet sit at the council table and bump taxes up every year.
Stephen Andrews' response. Moving to Jason Ross. You have 30 seconds.
Well, to start, 30 seconds is way too short to be able to deal with such a large subject. But I want to follow up on the conversation that Change has brought up with the idea of a conference. And political conferences in general tend to be these linear things where there's one event going on at any given time. And I think this is an excellent topic to have a multi-threaded conference where you have one thread for people who are dealing with affordable issues. You have another that's there for the organizations that exist within the city, also for developers, perhaps for staff, and to have all those groups together at the same time.
And that is time. Thank you so much for your response. Changes the clown, affordability, your response.
The things that are needed are an affordable childcare program like the one that's being planned in the City of Vancouver, a living wage policy that's a little broader than the one that's been in place in the City of New Westminster since 2010. And then I would say that the third leg of a more comprehensive approach is something that other people have been talking about, which is social housing, affordable housing.
Thank you for your response. Lisa Helps, affordability defined many different ways for different people. How do you think City Hall should deal with this challenge?
Well, first of all, going back to the Vital Signs Foundation, it was actually cost of living that's been #1 for 2 years. So what can City Hall do? 1, we can keep taxes in line with inflation. 2, we can have more creative approaches to affordable housing in addition to what we're already doing. And 3, we can create a more positive context for job creation. Most people in Victoria simply don't make enough money. Thank you.
Lisa Helps. Our next response comes from David Shabib.
I don't think we can afford money anymore. Money's on the way out. Our debt far exceeds our income. And I think that we have to start thinking about how to give things away. I personally have a free store on West Saanich Road, and for 4 years I've been given tons of materials away. I think that government, eliminating government would save you $1 billion, and the communities could well use that money just for buying shovels and
time. Thank you, David Shabib. Our next response on this question comes from Dean Fortin. Again, the question is of affordability. Problems take many shapes. How do you see that problem, and how do you want to solve it?
There's 3 ways. An economic development strategy that focuses on good-paying jobs here in the city and in our region. A housing strategy that focuses on affordable housing for seniors, for young people, and for our families. Thirdly, to continue to do what we've done every single year is bring the tax increases down through commercial and residential investment in our downtown, building our economic base.
Thank you, Dean Fortin. And now for Ida Chong's response to the question of affordability.
Property tax rate increases affect everyone, whether you're a renter, a condo owner, apartment dweller, a senior, homeowner, merchant, or shop owner. City Hall should not be making life more expensive for residents every single year, the tune of 34% rate increase in the past 6 years. Dean and Lisa, both of you, and even Stephen, you have all wanted to continue to raise property tax rates 18% in the next 4 years. If that is a part of the cost of living and it goes up every year, affordability will continue to be a problem.
Thank you for the response. Our first discussion around the table on that question of affordability. We'll move to our next question in our lightning round, and we'll jump one more down the line and start with Jason Ross on this question. What is the biggest transportation priority for the capital region?
Well, again, very complicated subject, hard to summarize in 30 seconds. But let me focus on our transit system and our buses in particular. It annoys me when I'm trying to catch a bus and it arrives minutes before it's supposed to schedule arrive, or when an entire route gets canceled. And I think having GPSs on the buses and being able to track where the buses are and allow people to get a better gauge at where they're going to be able to make their connections is an important aspect of transportation.
Thank you, Jason Ross. Biggest transportation priority for the capital region, according to Changes the Clown.
Free buses. As well as making life easier for people with low incomes, fare-free public transit would have a transformative effect on a number of traffic-related and transportation-related issues in the city, including the need for bike lanes and other kinds of infrastructure expansions, parking, policing costs, and other things. And fare-free transit is more common than you might think, with a couple dozen cities and towns in the U.S. having free buses, and many more than that in Europe.
Thank you. Our next response comes from Lisa Helps.
Thank you. For the city and the region. So the city first, Belleville Terminal, and we're well on our way, and more active transportation, pedestrian and cycling infrastructure. For the region, ending the car transportation gridlock that keeps us all in our cars way too long. And the best way to do this, well, there are 2 ways. One, we have control over a little bit. The ENN rail, get that up and running, and support the Island Corridor Foundation to start commuter rail between the West Shore and the downtown. Thank you.
The response from Lisa Helps. The question is, what's the biggest transportation priority for the capital region? The next response comes from David Shabib.
Eliminate the debt, stop the need for people to get out in their vehicles and go to work to pay for mortgages, to pay for rents. It's unnecessary. We need to cancel money's tyranny over the population, and then people can stay at home and raise their families and grow their gardens.
Okay, our next response comes from Dean Fortin.
Thank you, Ryan. In Victoria, it's about active transportation. It's about bike lanes, crosswalks, and walkable village centers. We're making it easier every year to get around this city. In the region, it's about getting people out of the cars and onto buses. It's about developing regional trails. It's about changing our focus from moving cars to moving people.
And another response on the question of the biggest transportation priority for the capital region, now from Ida Chong.
Thank you. In terms of the roadway, I would say the Mackenzie interchange. We need to ensure that people coming to work in downtown Victoria and shop can arrive efficiently and safely. In terms of the Victoria itself, I would say Belleville Terminal, where the Coho and the Clipper operate, because it directly impacts our tourism sector, something we depend on. And we need a mayor who can work with the provincial government to see that that upgrade is completed. I'm also interested in commuter rail, but I need to see proper data on ridership numbers and also a solid business plan before I would pursue it.
Now, Stephen Andrew.
Well, I think the biggest thing we can do immediately for transportation in Victoria, if that's what we're talking about, is to make it cleaner. I've already talked about introducing graduated business licenses for commercial vehicles such as buses that are using older equipment. And I think we need to be more environmentally friendly. And I agree that we need to encourage more people to get out their cars and cycles if they can. But seniors have been telling me at the doorstep that they simply cannot do that. So slowing down traffic across this city is not the answer. We need to consider we have a balance. We have a balance of individuals and we have a balance of people and the modes of transportation they use, and that's how we should deal with it.
Thank you very much from Stephen Andrew. And that completes our circle on that question of what is the biggest transportation priority for the capital region. Our next question is, how would you represent the city of Victoria on one of our infamous perennial issues, sewage treatment? In light of roadblocks encountered by the capital region's initial plans, how would you represent the city on this topic? And let's again jump over one more person to our side and begin this roundtable response from Changes the Clown.
It's been suggested to me that by answering every question, I run the risk of diluting the Changes for Mayor message, which is about the crisis of child poverty. And so I think there's something to that suggestion. So I've been passing on some questions. I'm going to pass on this one.
Okay, that is fine. We will move to the person to your side, which is Lisa Helps, on the question of how would you represent the city of Victoria as mayor on the region's sewage treatment future?
That's a fantastic question. I would represent Victoria as a good partner. I would represent Victoria as collaborative, as willing to participate in new partnerships and new ideas to move sewage forward. After the election, I'm looking forward to sitting down with the Mayor of Esquimalt, Oak Bay, and Saanich to make a plan that's satisfactory to our residents and that's cost effective. The West Shore has shown real leadership on how to work together, and we've got some catching up to do here on the East Shore, and I look forward to that opportunity. Thank you.
Sewage treatment, David Shabib.
I'm tired of this question. I don't like it. I think there's experts out there that should be asked, and they'll tell you exactly what to do. I'm really interested in housing and how the city has zoned it, that a limit on the number of people that you can have in a house, saying, I live in a 7-bedroom house and I can only have 4 people in that house. I think this is ludicrous, and I think this government needs to give itself a shake and come to sense.
Our next response, and again, this is the lightning round with 30-second responses. Thank you all, by the way, for keeping to our timing very closely, so that is appreciated. The question is, how would you represent the city of Victoria as mayor on the region's sewage treatment project? Our next response comes from a man who's already been doing it, Mayor Dean Fortin.
I know that the residents in the city of Victoria don't believe that we can continue to put our untreated sewage into the oceans. They want an effective and they want an efficient system. Now, whether it's a sub-regional solution working with Oak Bay and Saanich, or whether we have to go it on our own, we need to make sure that we're moving forward quickly to ensure that federal and provincial funding is there. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to including emerging technology that allows us to move waste into energy. There you have great opportunities, but as the federal and the provincial government said, we need to move, and we need to move quickly, but we need to move forward hand in hand with our residents, and that's what I'm committed to.
Time. Thank you very much, Dean Fortin. Next response from Ida Chong.
Thank you. Well, my chief concern is that if this continues to drag on, the potential for cost overruns will make the Johnson Street Bridge project cost overruns pale in comparison. So as badly as the Johnson Street Bridge project has been mismanaged, if we cannot reach a decision on sewage treatment soon, taxpayers will be significantly impacted. So We need to act collaboratively with our regional partners to get a decision as quickly as possible with the lowest cost possible.
Next response from Stephen Andrew.
Well, I think we need to work with our regional partners. I think we're going to have a semi-regional option to this with Saanich Bay and Victoria. There's already been some discussion on this, but I would ask people to consider that past performance is an indication of future success. The mayor and Lisa are on council. I mean, essentially, they've had 10 years to deal with this. We don't even have a shovel in the ground. And then if Ida says she's going to stand up and do anything about it, where has she been for the past 10 years when she was actually the minister in charge of municipalities for a while? There's been no help on this. We can't take another 10 years. We've got to get it done by 2020.
And our final response on this question, which is, how would you represent the City of Victoria on the region's sewage treatment project? It's a project that has seen recent roadblocks encountered by the Capital Region's main plans. We're going to have to do something. How would you deal with it? Jason Ross.
Well, I was at the Esquimalt meeting where they rejected the CRD's plans to put the sewage treatment at McLaughlin Point, and the main reason why they, well, the biggest reason I think was the reason that it was such a large facility. And if you're dealing with waste, if you're in any topic of waste, the best bang for your buck is treating it at the source, preventing it from getting into the system at the first place. And the reason why we had to have such a large waste plant was because we weren't fixing our leaky pipes. We weren't doing things to help residence owners and businesses to treat their gray water, their water from their sinks, separately from their water from their sewage. And reduce the amount of sewage we have to treat, reduces the cost overall.
Thank you very much, Jason Ross. And that completes our round of answers on the question of sewage treatment, one that has been debated many times over many elections around Greater Victoria, I'm sure. Now, we have been making excellent time. Thanks, everybody, for keeping on time. It's actually been more efficient than I was expecting. So on our final question of the lightning round, I'm going to give everybody a little extra time. We were originally going to allot just 10 seconds for our final question, but I will give everybody 30 seconds now to ask this tough question facing everybody in the room. What is your favorite thing about Victoria? And we'll start with Lisa Helps. 30 seconds.
Thank you. My favorite thing about Victoria is its people. I've lived here for almost 20 years, and I am impressed over and over again by the people who open small businesses in our town, by the people who come together with creative solutions, with new ideas. There's a real energy bubbling up in Victoria right now, and I'm very, very excited to be part of leading that change at City Hall. I hear all the time, Victoria has a lot of potential. Let's unleash it.
What is your favorite thing about Victoria, David Shabib?
Victoria is Victory City. It's a city of gardens, and I'm with the garden party. So I love the weather here. I think this is a beautiful spot to be in, and it gives us a great opportunity to relax, and if we could just get rid of this god-awful government we got.
What is your favorite thing about Victoria, Dean Fortin?
You know, I often say this. We have an amazing natural environment here in Victoria. We got an amazing built environment in our old town and coming downtown and all of that. But like Lisa, I agree. It's the people that make up the city of Victoria. And every village, whether it be Cook Street Village or Fernwood Village or Quadra Village, is slightly different. But ultimately, in the end, it is what Victoria is. We're the smartest city. That's why we engage people on a high level. It's the most romantic city. It's the best city. I'm proud of the city.
Dean Fortin. What is your favorite thing about Victoria, Ida Chong?
Thanks very much. Well, of course, I would say it's the people and the diversity of the people from various backgrounds. All different ages are welcomed. The different ethnicities that we have here. That's what makes Victoria so wonderful. But I want to say as well, one of my favorite things is no longer, which is, as a child, I used to go up to the 4th floor of the Bay and have those chocolate malts.
What is your favorite thing about Victoria, Stephen Andrew?
That's like saying, what's your favorite son or daughter? It's very difficult to answer. I mean, I love it. One of my favorite things, actually, about it is when we go away and come back, you realize how much we have here. I always say it. One of my favorite visions is actually coming down the Pat Bay Highway and driving into the city and realizing how good we have it. And, of course, it's sense of community. And as people know, on this radio station, I love chatting with people. It's brilliant.
Jason Ross, what is your favorite thing about the city of Victoria?
I again think it's the people, but it's more about what those people bring to the table that I think is my favorite part. The fact that we're the provincial capital as well as a major destination for retiring people in this whole country. means that we have a wealth of people with knowledge and experience in every field imaginable that helps, that we could use and tap into and really make some significant changes in the way that this city both runs and shines to the rest of the world.
And finally, in our final question of the lightning round, which is, what is your favorite thing about Victoria? I go to Changes the Clown.
A lot of great things about Victoria, that's for sure. I was born here, and I lived in other parts of the country for close to 20 years and came back some years ago. The whole time I was gone, I wanted to come back here. I mean, it's definitely the best place in the country to live. The UN used to say that, I mean, for years and years, year after year, the UN used to rank Canada as the best country in the world. I'm inclined to think that maybe it still is in a lot of ways. I mean, you put those two things together, and it's the best place in the world to live. But specifically, I would say, if it was to narrow it down to one thing, it would be the compassion and the progressive thinking of its people, which are actually the same thing.
And that's time. Thank you very much for all of your responses. We ask the tough questions here at Cfax 1070. What is your favorite thing about the city of Victoria? Well, we will actually be getting to some tough questions, I'm sure, after the news break coming up at the top of the hour, because our next round of the debate will be what we're calling the free-for-all. That is where we will let each of the candidates before me ask one question to one other candidate and then get a response back. That is coming up as we continue our Cfax 1070 mayoral candidates debate. Also, stay tuned. After we're wrapping up here, we will be continuing with a post-game show of sorts. You'll be able to hear analysis of the debate you've just heard, hear comments, and also give your thoughts and comments in our post-game show for the Victoria Mayoral Debate. Election Day is this Saturday, November 15th. The polls will be open. Make sure you get out and vote, and we will return with the City of Victoria Mayoral Debate in just a moment on Cfax 1070.
Victoria Mayoral Debate 2014.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cfax 1070 City of Victoria Mayoral Debate. Election Day is November 15th, Saturday. It's time to make a decision on who you want to become the mayor of the City of Victoria for the next 4 years. And to help you make that decision, I have 7 of the 8 candidates who want to be mayor here in studio with me. And if you missed any part of this program, we will be uploading a video of the entire debate onto our website at cfax1070.com later on in the day. I will one more time just really quickly introduce who we have in studio with us, and we've seated them at random. Ida Chong, Stephen Andrew, Jason Ross, Changes the Clown, Lisa Helps, David Shabib, and Dean Fortin are in studio with me. There is one other candidate running to be Mayor of Victoria, Riga Godrin, who could not be with us today. We're moving on to the next round of our debate. This is the free-for-all round, and I'll lay out the ground rules and then we'll get to it. But in essence, each of our candidates here will be able to ask one question to one other candidate and hear a response. There will be 30 seconds allotted to ask the question, 60 seconds allotted for the answer. I will be timing all of the answers and questions, and just to repeat the rule, I'll be holding up a yellow card when there's 10 seconds left to give you a warning that it's time to wrap up your thought. So now, without further ado, we will get to the free-for-all. And we've been moving around the table starting at different points. I believe we're at Lisa Helps now to begin. Oh, David Shabib to ask our first question. To a candidate of your choosing, you have 30 seconds.
My question is to Jason. We recently won a court decision where we took the City of Victoria to court for denying people the right to sleep outside, and we won that decision, and campers can now sleep outside in parks. In Beacon Hill Park, there are a number of campers. At 7 p.m. at night, the city closes the washroom. Where do the campers go to the bathroom?
That is the question from David Shabib posed to Jason Ross. You have 60 seconds for a response.
That's an interesting question. I think we need to be looking at this in a holistic. I'm going to twist it a little bit. I think we need to be looking at a holistic approach to how we deal with homelessness. If there are people camping in our parks, we need to be able to provide them. If they're allowed to do it, we need to be able to provide the services that they need to just, taking care of the personal of your body.
Where do they go to the bathroom right now at night?
Oh, well, that I don't know. I would expect probably somewhere in the bushes.
Thank you.
But
that completes your response?
Well, no, I just think I'd like to, it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't have to go duck down in the bushes or go out to the beach or something. There should be services provided. And if there are people living in our parks.
So why does the city close the bathroom at night?
Well, that's something you'd have to ask the mayor.
We're going to keep it to just a question followed by 60 seconds for a response. Are you finished with your response, or do you still have a few seconds to go?
Okay, I think that probably shouldn't be the case. If we have a significant issue, and we have to deal with these people, and they're individuals. They have human dignity and right. They should be given that dignity to live in a way that at least doesn't make them feel shunned.
Thank you very much for the first question and first answer. Next, we move to Dean Fortin. You have 30 seconds to ask one question to one candidate of your choosing.
Great, thank you. For Stephen Andrews. Stephen, you note in your brochure that crime is decreasing in the city of Victoria, but express a concern that the perception of crime is not decreasing. How would you address that perception concern?
Well, I think one of the issues that we need to do is actually stand up, and as mayor, I would expect that the mayor stands up and on a regular basis keeps reaffirming that downtown is safe, and I haven't heard you saying a lot about that over the past little while. I think the other thing that we need to do is at least have more officers appear to be on the street. I know that that's been stepped up a bit. I would like to see that on a regular basis. The other thing I'd like to do is also have the community that, and I'm sure you've been hearing this as well, Dean, when you're knocking on the door, seniors and vulnerable people talking about their perception about coming downtown. Get them into a dialogue with us to find out what they need to feel safer in the downtown core. I think if we can talk to them directly, find out how we can alleviate their perception, then we can move forward with that.
Thank you very much. Next, we move to Ida Chong. You have 30 seconds to pose a question to any candidate and have 60 seconds to respond.
Okay, my question is to Lisa. Earlier, you highlighted your plan on your website and said it was strong, clear, and detailed. I've had a look at your plan, and you seem to be promising something to everyone. On September 19th on Cfax, you admitted you have not attached any cost to your plan, and you also stated that a person would set up shop based on hope in downtown Victoria. So taxpayers deserve to know, what will your plan cost, and how do you expect to pay for it? More property tax rate increases?
That's a fantastic question, Ida. Thank you. What I said on Cfax on September the 19th or whenever it was, that everything in what I propose hinges on building the city's economy. And we do that by creating an economic development office. And before we create an economic development office, and I think Ida will appreciate this, we come up with a detailed business plan for what that office is going to do. We task it with deliverables, everything from deliverables filling downtown vacancies to deliverables on raising the median income in Victoria from $28,000 to something that's more livable. The startup funding for the Economic Development Office comes from the city's Economic Development Reserve Fund, which is set up for the purposes of economic development. So while I haven't costed out the entire plan, and I don't believe that anyone else has done that either, the startup funding for the Economic Development Office, which is the hub, the generator of the economy for the City Hall, comes from a reserve fund set up for that purpose. Thank you for the question.
Question from Ida Chong and the response from Lisa Helps. Next in order is Stephen Andrew, a 30-second question to a candidate of your choosing.
My question is for Lisa as well. And Lisa, as you know, it requires maturity and knowing the issues when you sit at the table. You're also a co-chair of the police board. You have acknowledged that you have been an activist in your self-admitted activist not so long ago. And we have information that's been given to us by Roberta Martel, somebody you know, former executive director, that you worked with, that basically you believe that police are irrelevant and you've made disparaging remarks about police. Have you changed your position on police? And if not, what is your thought on policing today?
Oh, thank you. Wow, this is great. Thank you for the question. I think that our police force plays a really important role in creating public safety downtown and elsewhere. And I've been delighted and having really, really fantastic conversations with our new police chief since he arrived in January. I relish the opportunity of serving as co-chair of the police board with whoever's elected in Esquimalt and creating a culture of policing along with Chief Elsner, that takes into account community wellness, that takes into account care. I mean, one of the amazing things that he did in Sudbury was help sex workers get off the street and into jobs and homes. That's the kind of police chief that I'm really excited to work with. So again, thank you so much for the question.
The question from Stephen Andrew, the response from Lisa Helps. Next in our line is Jason Ross. 30 seconds to ask a question of your choosing to any candidate here, and there will be 60 seconds for that response. Go, Jason.
My question is for Ida, and Ida, I'd like to know, seems like your main platform is about freezing taxes and increasing infrastructure funding and spending. What's your thinking about how that's actually going to be achievable? How do you prevent the amount of money coming in, but increase the amount of money going into infrastructure?
Thanks very much, Jason. And what I've been saying is freezing property tax rates, not property taxes as such. And so my plan is to ask City Hall to tighten its belt rather than reach deeper and deeper into the pockets of taxpayers. I know that other candidates here have already said that they plan to raise property tax rates another 18% over the course of the next 4 years, on top of the 34% rate increase that has already occurred in the past 6 years. That means there's a spending problem at City Hall. It's not about the revenue problem. So I would ensure that the tax base does grow. We already see that that's possible, and City Hall needs to tighten its belt and not get into the taxpayers' pockets every single year.
You still have 15 seconds if you choose.
Well, the other thing I'd like to be able to do as well is to make sure that that spending problem doesn't go down to Victoria's churches, charities, and nonprofits with the removal of the permissive tax exemption. That's another problem we have to deal with.
All right, thank you very much. The question from Jason Ross to Ida Chong. Our next question comes from Changes the Clown. You have 30 seconds to ask a question.
This is a question for Ida, too. Would you say that facilitating and encouraging private sector job creation is the best approach for a municipal government to take in addressing child poverty? And if so, then why do you expect that a policy that's been such a spectacular failure for more than a decade at the provincial level, that BC has had the highest rate of child poverty in the country for 9 of the last 10 years, would bring better results at the municipal level?
Thanks very much, Changes. I think it's really important that when we are helping people to look for good paying jobs, that they get the training that they need. And you do need to ensure that those jobs will be there. And that's one of the reasons why you have your training authorities, you have your colleges and your universities provide the basic education for the work that's going to be required. But then you also have to make sure when they get the training, there are going to be jobs that are available for them. We found in the 1990s, people were getting educated, there were no jobs. So that's the role of the provincial government, not the local government, to create the environment where new industry comes, creates jobs. And the role of the city governments can be to ensure that those looking for that work know where they can go for those institutions within the city boundaries, college like Camosun College here, Royal Roads, and the University of Victoria.
Thank you. The question from Changes the Clown, the response from Ida Chong. Last in our list of people to ask a question in 30 seconds to any candidate you want to ask that question of, with a 60-second response to follow, Lisa Helps.
Thank you. My question is to Ida. Ida, over the course of the campaign, you focused primarily on freezing the property tax mill rate. And given British Columbia's weak mayor system, where a mayor is one vote on council, how are you going to get your council to vote in favor of this? And how will you keep your #1 campaign promise if you can't do that?
Well, I do believe it's important to be able to sit down and work with the council and go over some of the budget information. Sometimes it's misinformation and they're not able to understand what can be done. And I'm sure that everybody wants to make life more affordable for people here in Victoria. And if the property tax rates continue to increase, we're going to have it less affordable, and it's unfair. So I do believe in the goodwill of the councillors that are elected who will want to work towards that, and I will work with them on that. It's important that they know that there are opportunities to grow the economy, to grow our tax base, to look for other sources of revenue. And if we all have that good intention to make life more affordable in Victoria, I'm very optimistic about what the outcome will be.
That is our final question from Lisa Helps to Ida Chong in our free-for-all round. We had no idea who was going to ask what of who, so that was a surprise to everybody. Thank you very much for your questions and your answers on the Cfax 1070 Victoria Mayoral Debate. We are going to take another commercial break. We are getting near the end of the debate portion of this program. We'll come back after the commercial for closing statements from each of the candidates who are here with us today. There are 8 in total running to be mayor of the city of Victoria. We have 7 in studio with us. And by the way, if you do need to catch up on anything you've missed, we'll be posting a full video of this debate on our website, cfax1070.com, following this program sometime later today, so watch out for that. Also, don't go anywhere after we conclude the debate. Around the bottom of the hour, we will be moving from our orientation room studio on the ground level of the Cfax 1070 building back up to our regular radio studio, where there will be a post-game of sorts to discuss what you've heard here. How did everybody do in this debate? We will be taking your calls. We will be also hearing from some experts who will be talking about this debate. That is to follow our show right now. We will be back with the closing statements from the candidates in just a moment on Cfax 1070.
Victoria Mayoral Debate 2014.
You are listening to the Victoria City candidates debate for the folks who want to be mayor of our city for the next 4 years. We're just about out of time, but we're going to move into our closing statements from the candidates. And we are making good time in the program today, so we'll be able to allot 45 seconds each for each of the candidates to make a closing statement. And we've been moving, shuffling the order down the line as we've gone, which means we're now at Dean Fortin, who can make the first 45-second closing remark.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to come and speak to the residents of Victoria. I want to say to you to look beyond the promises that come forward at election time and look closely at the record. It's about getting results on what's important to you and on your issues. Victoria is far better than it was a short 6 years ago. And I'm proud of how far we've come. How far we've come on affordable housing, on growing a vibrant downtown, and making Victoria a more sustainable city. The job's not done. We have the results, we have the proven ability, and with your support, we'll continue to move forward on this city. Thank you very much. I look forward to continuing the role as Mayor of Victoria.
The closing statement from Dean Fortin. We move next to Ida Chong, 45 seconds.
Thanks very much. Well, this election is about new leadership and focusing on the issues that matter most to you. I do not agree with Dean that Victoria is better. You just have to take a look at all the downtown vacant spaces, the 4D signs that are ever increasing. I have experience in managing large budgets, and as an accountant, I will bring fiscal discipline to City Hall. It's time for City Hall to tighten its belt and not reach deeper into your pockets because of uncontrolled spending. And I am the only candidate who will respect taxpayers by freezing the property tax mill rates for 4 years, and I would be honored to serve as your mayor. This Saturday, I ask for your support to vote strong and elect Chong.
Ida Chong, thank you. Our next candidate is Stephen Andrew.
Thank you, Ryan. Well, I mean, you've heard about our policies and our issues. Now it comes down to this. Who is ready to walk into the mayor's office, to sit at the head of the police board and at the CRD? And who has the maturity, knows the issues, and who has a team of seasoned experts and advisors for a transition to new and creative leadership? If you feel it's time for change, then please, I ask for your vote. You know, not one of us at this panel today has all of the answers, but I hope during this campaign that I have helped you to ask the questions that you are looking for answers for, and I pledge that as mayor, I will continue to do that. Thank you.
Stephen Andrew. A closing remark now from mayoral candidate Jason Ross.
So I've been a little bit of a odd candidate in that I'm not a practiced politician. I'm a programmer by trade, and I know it's a big ask to give me your vote, and there's an awful lot of trust I'm asking because I haven't been able to demonstrate all the skills that I bring and all the knowledge that I have. And a lot of that's my fault, and for that I apologize. But I do believe that I can make a real significant change to the city, and I can transform the way the conversation happens at City Hall. So on Saturday, please vote for me as Mayor of the City of Victoria.
Thank you. Jason Ross changes the clown. 45 seconds for a closing statement.
1 in 5 children and an astounding 1 in 2 children of single mothers live in poverty in Victoria. BC's minimum wage is only 54% of the living wage for Victoria, and a full-time minimum wage worker earns less than $1,800 a month. And when we consider that the cost of full-time childcare starts around $800 a month, it becomes clear why it's not possible for many single mothers to work, resulting in a poverty rate of over half for children of single mothers. Victoria needs an affordable childcare program and a living wage policy.
Thank you. Changes the clown. Lisa Helps.
Thank you very much. I want to begin by wishing my fellow candidates good luck and strength in the next few days. This has been a long, tough race, and I think we're all looking forward to Saturday. And now it's over to you. It's over to the listeners. It's over to the public to make your decision. You've heard us here today. You've heard us throughout the candidates' debates for the last few months. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens on Saturday. There's an increased interest in democracy, which is very exciting. There's excitement around this election that we haven't seen in Victoria for many, many years, and I welcome that. So your job is to choose the mayor who you think can best represent you for the next 4 years and who can work alongside you to lead this city together. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Lisa Helps. Our final closing remark comes from David Shabib. And as a man who's running in all 13 municipalities, it's a closing remark for all of those election races. David, you have 45 seconds.
Yeah. The last time I took the city of Victoria to court, it cost us $285,000 for our lawyers. I would like to take the media to court this time for misrepresenting the candidates in this election, the 185 candidates, which I realize is pretty well an impossible task, but saying that the process that we have is faulty. It has to change. And a vote for me is a vote to abolish government, quit paying taxes, kick the banks out of town, and start living life as if we are in a garden.
Thank you, David Shabib, and thank you to all of the candidates here who participated in our Cfax 1070 City of Victoria Mayoral Debate. And I will once more remind everybody that there will be one more name on the ballot when you go to vote on Saturday. That's Riga Godron, who could not be here. And on Saturday, after you voted, and if you want to find out what's happened in the election, turn to Cfax 1070, because starting at 8 o'clock when polls close, we will be bringing you full election coverage, as we've tried to do all through the campaign. We will be closing everything off with a full election show at 8 o'clock starting this Saturday, November 15th. And of course, please get out and vote, because you decide who runs our towns and cities for the next 4 years this Saturday.